Sisters and brothers, it is indeed a special day for our three parishioners, Jude and Ingrid and Alana, who will receive the body of Christ today for the first time. It's also a very special day for all of us with the privilege to gather here, to gather on screen, those of you who are watching from home. It just doesn't seem to end, does it? This COVID thing, this pandemic, it seems to go on. And there's a sense for many that it's tiring. It's tiring. It wears on us. This has been a time of great blessing for Lowe's and Home Depot, as so many home projects have gotten taken on. Rooms built, rooms repaired, things fixed, closets cleared, all the kinds of things. And after 3 or 4 months, you run out of projects. Today's an invitation, sisters and brothers, for one of the most important projects in our lives. It's the project of hospitality that's shared with us in this little cute story from the second book of Kings. About a small town that's about 50 miles from Haifa, about 80 miles north of Jerusalem. And in Shunem, this town, we're told there's this woman of influence. Importance. A woman who has a particular importance. If we listen to that, sisters and brothers, that's each of us. Because there is no one who God has made and brought into existence who isn't of particular importance. And we're told Elijah, this prophet, Elisha, comes and visits this woman and her husband, dines with them. They're not of the same faith. They're not of the same people. These are people who normally wouldn't get along. But she recognizes a holy man and says, "Come and stay with me. Come and stay with us." So much so that she says to her husband, "Go upstairs, I've got a project for you." One of these projects that we can take on. Go upstairs and do what? Build a room, add a room on the ceiling, on the roof. With what? A bed, a chair, a table, and a lamp. In our spiritual lives, what we're called to do is to recognize as what will happen for the three of you this morning is the holiest of holies is going to come and visit you and say, "I want to stay with you." And we have the invitation to build a room in our roof, which we might call our soul, we might call our heart. To build a room in our heart and to put in that room a bed, a chair, a table, and a lamp. Because if we think about what those are for, on the bed, so that the Son of God who visits us in the sacrament of communion, body and soul, humanity and divinity, whole and entire, that is this reality who is Christ comes to visit us, that he may stay and be a part of our lives, to live in our hearts. A chair because when we sit in chairs very often, we sit in a place where of reflection and dialogue so that we can encounter Christ in our hearts and have the conversations of our lives about the important parts of our journeys and our struggles, our moments of faith and our moments of doubt. And a table so that we might be able to share a meal, to share the meal of the events of our lives and Christ's love for us, to share with one another in hospitality. And a lamp to illumine the room, as Christ will be that lamp for us, to illumine and bring light to our lives. Sisters and brothers, those of us who have received our first communion many years ago, or have been baptized many years ago, we've received that same promise that Christ and the Spirit will indeed come and live with us. And we're better prepared if we take the time and work on this project of making sure the bed, the table, the chair, the lamp are ready, that we might continue to commune with Christ when he does come to us. But sisters and brothers, that's only half of today's readings. That newness of life that Paul writes about in Romans says to us, this is what happens. Jude and Elena and Ingrid, today, you'll experience the newness of life and excitement that will burn in you for the rest of your life, that will set you on fire, that God's love will burn in you. The invitation is that new life burns in us because of our baptism and because of the Eucharist. And then we get to the gospel. All of that about not loving your parents more than all of those good messages. Basically, Jesus is saying to us, if you love your parents a lot, love God even more. Not telling you not to love them, just love more. But the challenge is, love isn't competitive. So you can't love more. Just love with all your heart. Your parents, your children, and God. But at the end of that reading, there's the other part of hospitality. And it's the prophet, the righteous man, and the little one. The prophet, the righteous, and the little one. Now, like the woman of importance in Shunem, if Elijah comes, if Father Phil comes to our house, we're going to say, sure, open the door. Come on, Father, stay. Have a dinner after COVID. Come on, Father, stay. The prophet's with us. Wonderful. Or the righteous man, the one who does everything right, who's loving and good and kind. Come stay with us. Or woman. Righteous woman. The little one, though. The one who's lost, the one who doesn't fit, the one who's not the way that I am. The one that looks different. The one that talks different. All, we're told, will bring us our reward. And so hospitality, sisters and brothers, is an invitation of the gospel for us today, that we might not only welcome Christ into our heart as we will with this first communion for our three sisters, but also that we might welcome every stranger we encounter. One of the greatest dangers of COVID is the disconnection, is the fact that we do get locked in our homes. We break out once a week for an hour at St. Theresa, the quick run to the grocery store, for the brave a haircut, and we get disconnected. And we forget how important hospitality is. Our ability to recognize the dignity of other persons in the simplest ways. By looking over our mask and letting our eyes smile where people can't see our mouths. By the words of greeting, because we can no longer see distant smiles. By the wave of a hand. This morning I was reading the story. There's a pilgrimage route that runs from Canterbury to Rome, England to Rome. So the pilgrims in the 1200s would walk from Canterbury to the coast of England, catch a boat to France, walk all the way through France, through Switzerland, up the mountains to the Great St. Bernard Pass, down Switzerland into Italy, on to Rome. 1,000-mile walk. Writer Tim Egan has written a book called A Pilgrimage to Eternity. Pilgrimage to Eternity. And he's writing and reflecting on the story of the churches and the saints and the people that he's encountered along the way. He's halfway now. He's at St. Bernard Pass. He's headed down into Italy. And as he's coming down the mountain, exhausted, long months of walking, lots of people he's seen. He needs a meal. And he meets a woman along the road. And he says to her, "Can you tell me if there's a hotel, a cafe in your little town where I can find a bite to eat as I continue on our journey?" And she says to him, "You must come to my house. You must come to my house," a total stranger. She's out doing some errand. And she says, "Here's where you go. Go down the road. At the second turn, turn left. At the fifth house, there it is. I'll meet you there." But before she leaves, she hugs him. Having never met, two strangers from a different country, he says, "This is the first embrace I've had since I left England. That all the people I've met along the way, they're warm and welcoming, I've never been embraced." And it wasn't enough for the woman, because she said, "It's so good to have you here on this pilgrimage." And she kissed him on one cheek and then the next. And he knew in his heart burned with the joy of hospitality. And that woman knew that by receiving this little one, she would receive her reward. May we do so as well with the strangers we encounter today.